I returned once more to Guatemala in 2008. This time, I took my parents, and decided that I would rent a vehicle to get around in. In addition, Sylvia's project was closed down, so my only connection to them was now the internet, and soon to be friends on Facebook. The Central Park in the middle of Antigua was the perfect place for photos. I was able to capture all 5 sisters in front of the fountain. We traveled together in the one car, having at times as many as 12 passengers and groceries. It was tight, but everyone got along, and it was easy to travel the short distance, relatively, back and forth between Antigua and Alotenango. We ate several meals together at their house, and at the chicken restaurant in Antigua. We went shopping, to a fair, and different sites together. It was great. It was also my mother's birthday, and they helped celebrate it with a cake and song. This was the first time that I got to visit their home. Their home was located on the slopes of the Agua volcano, and in the town of Alotenango. Alotenango, Alotenango, translation, in the Wall of the Parrots, is a municipality in the Guatemalan department of Zacatepec. According to the 2002 Guatemalan census, the municipality has a total of 15,848 people. The municipality consists of 4 wards, and is on the Escuintla Road, National Highway 14. Located in a valley, Alotenango is a Ladino coffee center, since the times of General Justo Rufino Barrios' liberal regime, 1873 to 1885. They have many extended family members, and neighbor who came over to the home. We had many meals in Guatemala, but McDonald's seems to be my mother's favorite. This was the courtyard at the McDonald's, which was beautiful, and had a great view of the Volcano Agua. As I have mentioned about the prices in Guatemala, it too is even more expensive than in the US. On the next trip to Guatemala, we arrived in Antigua on New Year's Eve, 2013 to 2014. Do not ask me why we picked that date, do not remember, but it was one of the best decisions that I have made. If you ever get the chance to be in Antigua on New Year's Eve, do it. My sister and I did. We went up on the roof of our hotel, which had tables and chairs, and watched the show that went on and on. The whole city participated, and it looked like they were having rivalries, back and forth, around the city as to who could put on the best show. At midnight, everyone did, and it was like a war zone with booms and smoke everywhere. We were told that there were even more fireworks on Christmas Eve. That was hard to imagine. But since we lost an hour because of the time zone change, we were getting to bed extremely late. But, because of the amazing fireworks show, I did not mind at all. It was hard to capture it all in a photo, but I tried. The next day we found ourselves on the beach, in Guatemala. Being in Antigua on New Year's Eve was one of my best decisions ever made. We were about to make 2 of the worst decisions. I say we, because I will not take all the blame, although I did end up with most of the punishment. As you can see from the photo, the beach was crowded. I would guess that just about everyone in Guatemala came to the beach on New Year's Day. A photo does not do it justice also. But it was a nice day, and the water was nice. The beach sand was black, the water was to the south, and it was the Pacific Ocean. Puerto San Jose is a port town home to 20,000 Guatemalans, the most populated of any town along Guatemala's Pacific coast. You can fly into this scenic area with the volcanoes providing a backdrop. This is a Guatemala beach worth checking out, and the sail fishing off the coast ranks among the world's best. Whale watching is also popular. You are actually looking south when looking out at the water from the beach. Now, we come to the second biggest mistake, especially for me, that was waiting for me on the table where we parked the car, and had lunch/dinner. I will say that it tasted rather good, and was very filling. I later learned that it also was not cooked. This stayed with me for about a month, and left only after going to the doctor, and getting some particularly good medicine. Luckily, it did not bother me too much, while I was in Guatemala. The next big item for the trip, was to drive to Lake Atitlan again, and meet up with CCF to visit with Lillian. I invited the girls to go with us if they could. Sylvia and Patricia could not, because both of them had to work. But Chaiti, Hiomara, Marielos, Corey, and Miguelito, Mikey, were ready to go. Subsequently, the 7 of us headed out to the lake. We had at least a 4-hour drive in front of us, with plans to stop about halfway for lunch. Left to right, first row Mikey, second row Heidi, and Hiomara, third row Corey, and Marielos. This photo was taken at the restaurant that we stopped at. It was the same restaurant, Kadak, that I stopped at on the study tour, with my parents, my sister, and this crew. They made the trip very enjoyable, and we had time to share many more things. One of those things was the use of elevators. It seems that at least for Marielos and Corey, it was the first time that they were ever on an elevator. We took in the sights and many photos, had dinner, and hung out around the pool. Another issue we had was that our translator Sergio could not go with us, and my Spanish was not as good as their English, but that was not particularly good either. We did have a computer, and used it as our translator, which was adequate, but could have been better. One of those items was what would they do while my sister and I went to meet CCF and visit with Lillian. That took some time and coordination with the hotel, but we managed it. They were going to have a good time in Panajachel while we were gone. View of lake and volcanoes from our rooms, 4th floor. There is something always else to do, and this time we did not save it until the last. And I learned something important from my first time. I went up the volcano Pacaya. Left to right, Sergio, me, Marielos, Hiomara, Brenda, Nancy, and Corey. If I did not learn anything else, it was to ride the horse up and down the volcano. It was much more enjoyable, and no need for surgery. Sergio has been my translator now for the 3rd time, and will be my translator whenever I return to Guatemala. Brenda is Sergio's sister, and also went with us to the beach. Corey is the girl's cousin, and their families are awfully close. Another reason that I might have chosen those dates to travel was that Hiomara's birthday was on January 5th, and she will be 24.
Cántenme happy birthday. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Ya queremos pastel. Ya queremos pastel. Aunque sea un pedacito, pero queremos pastel. Chocolate también. Chocolate también. Aunque sea un pedacito, pero queremos pastel. 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25.
Muy a tiempo.
Muy temprano tu piñata, pues.
No, bebé.
Apúrense mucho porque ya está. 3 tienen que estar ahí, por favor.
¿Cuántas tenemos? 5. No, los años que
3
tenemos.
hombres, 3 hombres, son las 3 porque ya es tarde.
3.
Ya, duro.
Whoa, whoa. Straight, straight.
Atrás, llama.
Adelante.
Atrás,
Adelante.
llama. Ahí, dele, dele. Ahí donde queda la bandera.
Whoa, whoa.
Ahí, ándale, ahí.
Right. Right. Straight. Oh.
Adelante.
Left.
Izquierda. Adelante, ahí, recto.
Straight.
Ahí es. Abajo.
ow, ooh, ow. Ah.
Ya.
Y todavía le quiere pegar,
Whack it.
Ahora.
Another thing that I found out on this trip was that Sylvia is now married, and expecting a child. I met her husband, and his family. They look like a great couple, and are incredibly happy. The both of them are currently working in Antigua. I also zip-lined in Guatemala this time, but it was not as daring as some of the zip lines I saw. It was a good one to start out on. Our next trip to Guatemala was November 14 through 22, 2016. It will be for two incredibly special occasions. One will be the graduation of Marielos from school in Antigua. The other event is the wedding of Xiomara, which will occur in Alotenango. The photo shows us on the night of November 14 in Sylvia's, Mary's, house. The photo shows where Marielos' graduation was held. The large building just a little below center. This photo was taken with my drone right above our hotel. Photo is the location for the wedding. If you look closely, the rental car in the center is almost the location of where the ceremony was performed. This is located on the main road that bypasses Alotenango. The photo is the homestead, Heidi's, Sylvia's, and the rest of the family's houses. located in Alotenango on the side of the Agua volcano. We had a delicious and peaceful graduation lunch on top of a hill overlooking Antigua. Photo. You can see in the photo, if you know where to look, our hotel, the building where the graduation will take place, the chicken restaurant, the park in the center of town, and most of Antigua. I took the drone photos as we were leaving. When I landed, the drone, a security person came over and asked what I was doing. I told him that I had asked permission prior to flying the drone. He went back to his post. As we were driving down the hill, we stopped to take photos of the graduate with the hills in the background, near a helicopter pad. A car was parked there, and we parked behind it. Two individuals got out and said that we could not take photos there. They said that they were presidential security, and that the president of Guatemala was going to land there shortly. While we were there, soldiers with automatic weapons lined the road about every 20 feet. We continued on our journey. I later wondered, what could have happened to me? I know it would not have been good if I flew a drone near where the president of the US was going to fly into. Later that day, we attended the graduation ceremony for Marielos. Her mother and I walked with her into the auditorium and sat next to her. She received several rewards and gave a speech. She was top of her class, which reflected the hard work and sacrifice she had to make to do so well. She thanked both her mother and I for our help, with tears. The ceremony was exceptionally long, and there were many stages to it. It was utterly amazing to be a part of. One of the last things that happened was receiving their diploma and signing the class roster of graduates. She makes an unbelievably beautiful alumna. It was a very lovely day, and the weather was very nice also. The wedding started with the bride's party, walking to the mayor's office, where the groom and his family was waiting. Then the civil ceremony is performed by the mayor in his office. Photo. The bride and groom sign the official records, along with many of those present as witnesses.
Video.
Then the whole wedding party walks back to the bride's home, great-grandfather's, for a celebration party put on by the bride's family. The photo captured the wedding party returning from City Hall. The next day was followed by the religious ceremony. It is their custom for the bride and her family to meet at her mother's house, where she is getting ready. When the bride is ready, prayers are said by immediate family members and the bride. Then the whole family will walk through the city to the event location. In this case, it was from one side of the town to the other. There were other weddings going on that day, so different brides and their family going to their event would pass on the street. We did have to stop halfway for the bride to have some adjustments made. Once we got just outside of the event, the bride wanted to put her shoes on, she was wearing more comfortable shoes for the walk. This is when we found out that the shoes she's going to wear was not with us, someone made a mistake. Two had to drive someone back to the house for the shoes while we waited on the side of the road. Two got back with the shoes and the ceremony began. Her mother and I walked her up the hill to the groom. The bride and the groom looked lovely together, and the ceremony was exceptionally beautiful. The ceremony was followed by a reception, put on by the groom's family. It turned out to be a very cold night, and all were doing their best to stay warm. At the end of the day, everything turned out great, and everyone was happy for the bride and groom. The photo was when the bride and groom entered the reception. The groom's father and I was about to drop confetti on the both of them. The last night of our trip to Guatemala was a graduation celebration. The photo was a dance, that was usually the last dance for the party, but because we had to leave early, before party ended, for us they did it early. The party was a lot of fun, and it was incredibly sad when we had to leave. The volcano Fuego was continually active during this trip. It was making loud booms, throwing rocks and smoke high into the air, and lava flowed much of the time. This photo was taken from the graduation party as the sun was setting. The volcanoes are ridiculously photogenic, even when they are not active. But the active volcano Fuego was an immediate draw for photos. I also wanted to get closer with my drone for some spectacular photos. This clouded my judgment, because I knew that the wind in the valley was marginal for flying the drone safely. But it was too tempting, and I took my drone up on the side of the volcano. When I launched the drone, I was focused on the volcano. By the time I checked the drone, it had already been pushed by the wind, several miles away. I went into recovery mode, but it was already too late, and the wind was too strong. The last signal that I received from the drone, it was more than 5 miles away. All around the volcano was jungle, so it would be impossible to find it. One lucky thing was that the night before, I had downloaded all of the drone videos and photos to the girl's computer for them. I then downloaded those videos and photos to a jump drive, so all was not lost, only the drone.
Michael, how you like this for you wallpaper?
Wait a minute, I'm recording dear. Wow, look at that.
Oh, you can see.
Yeah.
You can see how.
This trip was to attend the wedding of Cilda Mariela Cojolan Mesteco and Luis Arturo Marroquin Ojo, and to spend time with her family, sisters and mother. We drove to Miami International Airport for our flight to Guatemala. We were met at the airport in Guatemala City by Patricia, Heidi, and little Mikey, who is getting bigger, which was great. Since I brought a drone, which was confiscated at the airport, until I could get a permit to bring it into the country. While waiting on the rental car, Patricia and I went to the Dirección General de Aeronáutica Civil, DGAC, to get the appropriate documentation, so that I can bring the drone into Guatemala. Patricia was a great help, and we quickly meet with the appropriate individual, and he helped me complete documentation, and gave me the document that I needed. We went back to the airport, paid a small fee, 1Q, for storage of my drone. More paperwork, and we were on our way. We decided to drive to Antigua to eat, everyone was hungry, at the chicken place. The drive to Antigua was easier this time, because there was less traffic, and we did not make any wrong turns, big ones anyway. After eating, we got to our hotel, and met up with Sergio, our translator. We then headed to Alotenango to meet with everyone else, and find out what was on the agenda. We got there, and found out we were to be part of a rehearsal for the wedding, where we met Mariela, and the groom.
Esta es su vida, mire la línea esa es el centro. Ahí tiene que ir. Despacio. Vamos. La Biblia. Palabra inspirada por Dios. Ahí nomás, ahora que tengo que hacer algo. Ahí. Le hace un pequeño saludo. Solo así saludo. Solo así. Igual los abuelos, así saludaban antes. Así ven, los abuelos.
Thursday was to be a beach day, another rehearsal on Friday, civil ceremony on Saturday, and church ceremony on Sunday. The next day we headed to the beach with Patricia, Heidi, Sylvia, Christopher, Mikey, Mom, grandmother, Sergio, Thu, and me. It took us about 2.5 hours to get to San Jose Beach, which was only 40 miles straight line from Alotenango. But, there is no such thing as a straight line in Guatemala. When we got to the beach, it was quite different than when I was there, on New Year's Day 2014. No people, well at least not many people. Did not have to fight for a parking space, or anything else. It was a very enjoyable day. The water, breeze, sun was very enjoyable. Everyone had fun. We also enjoyed a good meal, this one did not do me in, before heading back to Alotenango. Which only took a little over 2 hours, last time it was almost 2 hours, just to get out of San Jose. On Friday, we slept in, and went to lunch on a coffee plantation that was on the way to Alotenango. Finca Colombia is located 5 kilometers south from the Central Park of La Antigua, Guatemala, on the road to the city of Ciudad Vieja. Embedded in the slopes of the Agua volcano, at 5,000 feet above sea level, the facilities were blessed with a magnificent view. They were right about the view. When we got to Alotenango, we learned that the rehearsal was cancelled, so after some discussion, we decided to go to the Hotel La Posada de Don Rodrigo's restaurant in Antigua. Brilliant color and lively entertainment are yours to enjoy in this section of the restaurant, which pairs live marimba music in the evening with the thrilling spectacle of talented dancers performing the Baile de los Moros, a Guatemalan folk dance, every night. Sylvia's husband not only works here as the bartender, but is one of the lead dancers. There were 12 of us that made the trip, and enjoyed a very lovely meal and show together. The food was good, and the drinks even better. The restaurant and hotel are located near the Santa Catalina Arch. Renato and Patricia on the dance floor. Our table showing Sylvia, Mikey, 2, Hiomara, me, Joseph, and Sergio, L2R. Saturday was one of the 2 big days. The bride and her family walked to the mayor's office from her home, while the groom and his family walked to the mayor's office from his home. The mayor's office was about in the middle, so both families arrived at the same time. The ceremony had to be delayed, so the mayor could say some words for a former mayor, whose funeral procession stopped at the mayor's office. The ceremony was long, and had many different parts, and was almost identical to Hiomara's wedding. It was a very somber ceremony, but I caught Mariela sneaking a look at Luis, and smiling. Part of the ceremony allowed those who wanted to witness the event to sign the document. Both two and I signed the document, along with Mariela's mother.
Están presentes. Acepta usted a Luis Arturo Ojón Marroquín como su legítimo esposo. Promete amarlo, cuidarlo, respetarlo y sobre todo serle fiel a él mientras Dios les permita la vida. Lo promete, excelente. Es así. Si así no lo hicieran, Dios y la ley lo juzgarán. Pero para eso quiero hacer la oración para dejarnos en las manos de Dios. Y todo aquel que está aferrado en la mano de Dios, no hay problemas que quiera disolver su matrimonio, sino que ustedes permanecerán firmes, aferrados de la mano de Dios. Padre nuestro que estás en gloria.
After the ceremony, both Mariela and Luis were congratulated outside of the mayor's office.
Gracias, hermano. Muy amable, hermano Pedro.
Not too hard, was it?
No, it wasn't at first.
Then both families walked together to Mariella's uncle's house for a celebration.
Just pick me up on the way.
Que salude la cara, que fue la
At the reception, Tu and I were seated across the table from Mariella and Luis, next to his family. We had an enjoyable time, but called it an early evening, because the church ceremony was to start at 9 a.m., but only after the bride and her family walked all the way across town to the church. We arrived at around 7 a.m., which we were instructed to do, and found most of the occupants still sleeping or just got up. So, we got to watch everyone get ready. Christopher is wondering why the bride was not ready yet. The pace started to pick up as the time got closer and closer to 9 a.m., and remember, we still had to walk to the church. But, eventually everything fell into place, and the bride was beautiful. Not yet 9 a.m., and we were on our way. We had the ring bearer, pillow carriers, flower girl, bride, mother, me, a girl to carry the train, and the rest of the bride's family. I again was enormously proud to be giving the bride away, such an honor. We arrived at the church with the full procession, where Mariella's mother, and I present her to the groom at the front of the church.
El nombre de este niño corresponde a Oscar Moisés Chabat Ojol. para enseñar, útil para corregir, útil para guiar y útil para vivir de la manera que Dios manda. Aplausos para nuestro hermano, para el niño que hoy ingresa con la Biblia y los anillos. Los anillos, símbolo de compromiso y unión en una vida matrimonial. Aleluya. Enseguida, pues, tenemos el ingreso de los niños quienes portan los cojines. Corresponde al nombre de los niños Eber Josué Chabac Ojot y Stephanie Yasmín Mixteco Marroquí. Aplausos para ellos. Los cojines, símbolo de humildad, de relación íntima con el Dios Todopoderoso, a través de la oración, a través de una entrega, de un compromiso. Y para continuar, pues, llega el momento de ver el ingreso de la niña portadora de las flores, Melanie Teco Marroquí. Muy bien, y ha llegado el momento tan esperado, aleluya. El momento de ver los mixtecos. El momento tan esperado ha llegado. La entrada triunfal de la novia, acompañada de su querida madre, María Úrsula Mixteco Pamal, y también acompañada de los apreciados esposos, Mike Guzmán y Ture Guzmán. En la cola, Alejandra Stephanie Chuy. Aplausos para ellos, aplausos. Llega este momento tan especial, tan esperado, aleluya, por ellos, por empezar, por todos ustedes queridos que esperaban esta fecha, esperaban este momento. Hoy, pues, vemos ese encuentro tan esperado. Aplausos, por favor, aplausos. Dice la joven en el libro de Cantares: tú eres hermoso, amado mío, eres un hombre encantador. Dice el joven en el libro de Cantares: eres hermosa, amada mía, tan hermosa que no puedo expresarlo. Tus ojos son como palomas detrás del velo. Aplausos.
The ceremony was quite long, about 2.5 hours, and contained many parts: singing, music, submitting, with the two being presented as one. After the ceremony, and before we left the church, many photos were taken. This is just one of those photos with the new couple and the bride's grandmother. I took this photo with my cell phone, and caught two taking a photo with her cell phone, while Sergio was using my camera taking photos also. Needless to say, we have it well documented. Of course, we were not the only ones with cell phones and cameras. I will also add that the bride always looked beautiful in all of them. Then it was everyone off, following the bride and groom, to the reception at the town hall. This was when I made another fatal mistake, that is for a drone. I went ahead hoping to get a photo, using the drone when coming into the town central square. I was not ready, when they got there, and launched my drone before clearing all errors. The drone did its own thing, and was lost. Many people wanted to help me find it, but we also had the reception to go to. I was not worried about the drone, but would have liked to have got the photos and videos off of it. Lots of effort was put in, but it was not found. The reception was beautiful, and lots of people came to congratulate the couple. It was an exceptionally long, but beautiful day for the wedding. We ate several dinners at a quaint little restaurant in Ciudad Vieja. I do not know why, but I enjoyed the food here the most. I think that everyone did. This was our last meal together before we were returning home in the morning. The three oldest sisters looking exceptionally beautiful together.